Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for our 21st episode of STEM and STEAM activities at home or in the classroom. It's almost April, and today we're going to be switching up today with some different activities we'll be presenting, and we'll have some fun doing so. Now, with that said, I'm going to pass over to Josh. Take it away.
I was on mute. Hi, I'm Josh, now off mute, and welcome to today's fun webinar. As always, I'm joined by the wonderful Pete off to the side. Pete is the guy pushing buttons and making things appear on screen magically. Look at that, magic. Thank you, Pete. He has got wonderful animations he throws out there that I've never seen before, which are hilarious, which is great because that's the theme of today's webinar, is us making a couple of fun pranks for people to use that are also fun classroom activities. But before we get into that, we should thank the wonderful people at NASCO Education. If you have questions, please go to nascoeducation.com or engage at nascoeducation.com. There we go. You can talk to wonderful Jordan. He's a very, very fine fellow. Now, if you're a social media person, like I'm sure we all are these days because we're stuck and looking at our phone, you can go to these wonderful spots, NASCO Education, at all of these wonderful things, / or / Pete? / NASCO Education. I get those backwards. Go figure.
You said phone. Look at that.
What? It's a phone number. NASCO, you can call them and just be like, hey, what's going on? You can have a nice conversation with them, ask them what's happening in Fort Atkinson. Atkinson. I always do that. Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, where it's a wonderfully balmy 40-some degrees and windy outside. I know because it's that here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Cool beans. All right, so let's get on to the project of the day. Now, April Fool's is tomorrow, which, as we know, is the most humorous of all American holidays. I actually maybe second to Arbor Day. Trees are just funny. So let's talk about some cool projects we can do. And we're going to focus on a couple of things that do light programming with either a microbit or Arduino, things that are very simple projects that are very easy to accomplish for a student or an adult, and also don't take much time or effort to do as well. So if you want to make something kind of fun for your classroom tomorrow, or break it out for later, you can, if you have some of these components around. So let's get into that. Actually, let's show you the video first, because we're going to have, actually, unfortunately, sound won't work on this the way our software is set up, but we're going to show you a fun video clip of the thing in action, and before we even tell you what it is.
Yeah. Which video are we showing?
The one of you, the one you made, the really awesome video you made.
Talking. Let me
Oh, I thought you had that.
I didn't have it queued up yet.
So today we'll be using both an Arduino and a microbit, like this guy right here, to accomplish the exact same task. So if you're a microbit person, if you're familiar with this little platform, or an Arduino person, familiar with that platform, it's the same project through and through, just a little bit different code for the two of them, same components, same overall difficulty level, so to speak. Now, these are well documented thanks to the wonderful work of Pete, who documented this project on our website. And Jordan also give out some links to that as well, with the code and diagrams and all that fun jazz on there. But it's also something you can easily then modify as well. So we're actually making a distance activated gag. So you walk under something and something happens. I don't want to spoil the surprise because that would just be silly. And okay, now we're ready.
Okay.
We're gonna roll it. Oh, we're gonna get there. Yay, video.
Oh man, that's classic.
Wow. So there's wonderful sound effects that went with that as well for this project. So let's go to the overhead view and go over the kind of components we're going to use to show how to make this project, which are not too tough to do. So we actually should use this for later. So in front of me, can I zoom in? There we go, a little bit. There we go. So we're either using an Arduino, and we have our Crazy Circuits robotics board, or we're using our Crazy Circuits Bitboard, which is a Lego to microbit adapter that also has some ins and out on it as well. You can get the robotics board, which is the Arduino version of this, which will work the same way, also from NASCO and several of our kits that we have through them. So we're gonna put the microbit to the side because he's hard to see, but this is our Bitboard. This is a board that connects with Lego. You can use a number of different ways. Either you can use alligator clips. You could even just, tape this to something as well. We're not really using the Lego aspect other than for mounting on this. And it pops onto Lego in a couple different variety of ways. and makes for easy building of enclosures. Because one thing I hate doing is doing mechanical builds of things. I like the electronics. I hate the mechanics because it never works out well for me. Cardboard projects and cardboard cars. My classroom never went over well for me or my students. We all just walked away frustrated. But so we have this guy here. But the reason we're going to be using this is because we need to add some external power via a battery holder here, which we can plug in to this spot right here. Yay. And we also need to plug in this guy here, which is a distance sensor. These are nice little common parts. We include in some of our kits, both our big classroom sets of our Bitboard and our programming kits, but also can find these in pretty much any Arduino kit out there. They're a pretty common commodity part. They're pretty inexpensive. You can even grab them from literally anywhere. They're very inexpensive. It's a ultrasonic distance finder. One sends out a signal, and much like radar or sonar, bounces back, another one can hear it to judge the distance of an object. Now in this situation, we're not trying for great accuracy to say, oh, when it's 5 centimeters away, do something. No, we're just, when something walks underneath this, trigger an action, which is why we then have everything hooked up to, flipping over here, a servo, which is right here. Now this is a fun little servo. You could use a regular off-the-shelf servo. We're using a Lego servo because we like doing our stuff in Lego because it's easy mechanics for us to build stuff that way, as opposed to hot gluing stuff all over the place. That's why we like it. It's one of our little Lego servos that we have in our kits. A little Lego piece here, we did hot glue to this wonderful red Solo cup because we had one in our break room to then drop the confetti. Now you'll notice I have some cool parts right here to hold our distance sensor and our battery pack in place. Now these are another cool thing Pete just put together recently. This is one of a whole set of really cool 3D printed parts that are holders for sensors and servos and other items that pop onto Lego really well. So we can use a Lego base plate like this just to mount everything. It looks cleaner, it makes things easier for everybody. And I find that kids tend to find projects easier for them when things nicely kind of snap together, even it's simple like this, especially if a 3D printer in a classroom that's collecting dust. We've seen a few of those. I still have mine from when I was a teacher. It collects dust around here most of the time. Pete did these at his own home 3D printer, not our office one. But if you have a 3D printer in your classroom or school, it's a great way to use that to make something useful for a project, because these are very simple files. We have them for download, and the parts just slot in and hold into place. Or I think the battery holder just has a little piece of like a double-sided like looped piece of tape on the bottom just to hold the battery holder in place. But just kind of make things look nice, stick well together, and also hold well together on a wall. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Pete made a whole bunch recently. He's making some more. We've got like thumbsticks, temperature sensors, even a GoPro holder, because why not? I think the one that I really was looking forward to is the 7-segment display holder, because we use a lot of 7-segment displays with like a distance sensor or a potentiometer to show a number output for students. And this is an easy way just to like mount it somewhere on a Lego base plate that comes in like our kits, these green Lego base plates we include. But it's a nice way to pop things into place, and it feels a little more fancy. And for the kids, if they can feel a little more fancy and high tech, especially if they 3D printed their own thing, a useful thing, not an octopus or a sheep. I have a drawer full of sheep from 3D printed sheep from ages ago, like all these different colors.
Yoda, man.
Baby Yodas. But actually an actual useful thing for a project. And Pete, how long did this take to one of these guys take to print off, more or less? Like an hour?
Yeah, about that. I did them high resolution. So
Oh. Because they're really not very nice high resolution. You can do them low resolution too, a little lower, but faster. But they're easy, and you have a 3D printer around. It's a really nice thing to do. Or if you're doing some Tinkercad kind of stuff, you could say take our files and remix them to say hold other things, using Lego as that back plate for everything to mount onto, which is just, it's a nice common standard, easy to get a hold of thing for mounting things to things. Even our Bitboard here is just hanging on the Lego. It's not really using it for anything at the moment other than a back plate. So what we do is we end up hooking up this guy, the distance sensor, running some ribbon cable here to the pin headers right here, which I'll show on this guy a little closer. So we have these rows of pin headers up here, and these are really handy little guys. So a microbit, if you're not familiar with it, it actually is a pretty nice little microcontroller. Came out from the BBC a few years ago, 2015, I want to say. This is a version 2 that just came out last year. It's a few little upgrades on it, but it's backwards compatible with everything. It's rather powerful, but no one knows that because typically we just use alligator clips on 0, 1, and 2 here, and that's it. but you have all these other inputs and outputs. You can use built-in sensors, all this fun stuff, if you can break it out, which is what this board does. It breaks out all these other little output pins to useful spots. And so we've done that here with pin headers, so we can run our servo and, oh, there we go. And the distance sensor together there, and just plug them in. Now, if you're a student, plugging in the servo is just one plug, and the distance sensor are 4 wires matching up the 4 markings on the distance sensor, ground, there's 2 signal ones, and then the positive connection as well. Is not tough to do. Even for a 6th or 7th grader, you're just matching up 4 wires. Positive, positive, negative, negative, signal to signal, signal to signal. It's pretty easy to wire up all together. And our Arduino board is very similar to this, has pin headers on it as well. Again, just plug, 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 and you're good. I think Pete used this exact same setup right here for both the Arduino version and the microbit version, just switched out the board and the code. But that's all I have to do is plug it all together to then change up that code. And we like this basic setup right here because there's a couple different things you can do with it. Now, we use the distance sensor. There's no reason you can't use something other than a distance sensor as a input or trigger. For instance, there's tons and tons and tons of fun sensors out there, including a bunch built into, say, the microbit. For instance, there's a built-in light sensor on the microbit. So you could instead have, distance, when distance changes, triggers this. You could also have, when say a light switch is turned on, so the light changes in a room from low to high. The new version of the microbit has a built-in sound sensor, a little very basic microphone, but as your basic clapper approach, you could make a loud sound and something triggers, such as this. Now, we're talking about things to drop from a confetti dropper here, like, oh, what about using water or something, Jello? No, never used Jello. Confetti is great, especially hand-dripped confetti, because it's big and easy to pick up in your classroom, and no one is upset like, oh no, some paper fell on my head, ha ha ha. So you should think about that. But it's a really easy, simple project. You'd have a couple kids put together in like about a half an hour, and just to put it there together, mount it up there, because we have the code available. Pete put together a nice link in our write-up with the code, and you can always then, of course, change things to, say, trigger differently. Now, we also talked pretty heavily about other like physical, mechanical things. Oh, there's the code. The code isn't that tough, and the code is just click on the link we have. There's the code, and most of it is when something when the state of change happens to the distance sensor, the servo moves from one point to another.
Yes.
It's got the waiting state at this degree, and then when something changes, it drops. And Pete actually did it so that the servo moves it back and forth a bit, like a little wiper.
Shake out all the confetti.
Got to shake it out. Like a dog coming in from the rain, just got to shake it all out.
Yeah.
And so, which is kind of a little humorous. But you could also say make some fun mechanical switches as well. For instance, it's not very difficult to make a pressure switch by using 2 pieces of cardboard with conductive tape on both. Someone steps on it, connection happens, it's a button press. Pete also was kicking around an idea for quite a long time of doing your old school like pull-out switch. So this is another fun switch that we wanted to show off as a fun April Fool's Day thing for activation. So this is a piece of paper on a string that we would attach to, say, like a door. And when this pulls, we complete the connection. Usually the connection is not together. It's a closed.
Normally open.
A normally open connection is the official term. There we go. So when the paper's in there, nothing happens. But when it pulls, so that, like, say, like a door closing or something, or snagging on somebody. And this is a really fun way, again, to activate a prank effect. The classic door closing, something happens. And very easy to program microbit because it's just a button press option in there. So that's a very easy, very simple thing for kids to use in the microbit format or Arduino format as well, to activate a fun switch. Again, the confetti drop, no one's upset for that one. And we long discussions on what to drop on people. So this is a very good way of doing this. Now, there was one other project that we were trying to get done for this workshop that we couldn't quite work out well. And Pete was on the floor working on this for quite a long time. It's the classic pull the dollar away from somebody, like a dollar bill on the floor attached to a piece of fishing line that just always moves away from you, like, hey, that dollar is flying away. And we're going to use the distance sensor and a motor, a continuous rotation servo or motor, to then just pull things away. So you can do that. That proved to be a more difficult project than you'd expect. However, if you wanted to, say, do that project, say, with it's just there's a dollar hanging up there, you go for it, and then it goes up and moves out of the way. That's also a very easy thing to do with that distance sensor, as opposed to using the regular servo, like so. You could instead just use a continuous rotation servo, which acts like a motor. We actually have a Lego piece attached to one of those as like a drum, so it just spins. And with this, so that it would say pull something up away from somebody. Oh, there's a dollar hanging in the air. What's that? And pulls it away. Again, very simple cause and effect. And why it may seem very simple to us, simple cause, simple effect, for kids, those kind of simple interactions are the basics of robotics for them. Simple cause, simple effect. And it's also very easy for them to understand how that logic works, which is what we like as educators. You can understand the code, understand the process of that code working, but also is really entertaining as well for like a 6th or 7th grader for a stupid joke. And I say this as somebody who enjoys stupid jokes. Pete knows because I tell him enough stupid jokes in the office. And it's just, yeah, it's just really bad. But it's hilarious for kids and it's memorable for them as well that, hey, my teacher made a joke robot in the classroom that the kids could emulate themselves or very easily understand using the basic microbit or Arduino understanding they've already done in their class. Especially microbits is such a very simple, straightforward platform with a drag and drop interface. It just makes it very, very, very simple. A lot of the Arduino microbit projects we have are just like 3 or 4 little blocks in a row. Very, very, very simple things and very easy to understand that logic with the programming and the code that goes with it, which is what we want. We do have some classroom sets with these materials in them, and this is one of the activities we're going to be throwing into like as a extension classroom activity. Make a joke robot, and we use this as an example since all these parts are pretty easy, pretty common, and pretty straightforward to use after a little bit of learning and understanding. So that is that. Pete, do you have any? Since Pete did most like. I think the vast majority of the work, like 99% of the work was all Pete on this one. I think the basic idea kicking around was us in the office with Pete. Pete is the one who does the legwork.
Maybe Ben or Andy had an idea that instead of pulling the dollar up, we put a spider on it and lower it down.
Oh, there we go. And again, taking that again, same cause and effect, like that, like dropping a spider on somebody.
Yeah.
Which again, very silly, a little plastic spider dropping in the air. That's also a really good thing to also then bring up for say Halloween as well. You could bring that around as a Halloween activity, Halloween joke activity, because that literally is probably a thing you can buy at the store is a simple distance sensor that drops a spider on somebody. I pretty guarantee you can find something like that on Amazon. You can make it yourself with the same batch of stuff you made a April Fool's Day prank or basic other programming activities with. And it's just, again, simple cause, simple effect, which is what we really love to see that the kids see and understand and use, especially, again, if they find it entertaining, they find it humorous, they'll remember it and it'll stay in their head a bit longer and hopefully spark their interests far more than just, let's make a servo move today in the classroom. Yay.
Now, Josh, here's a fun one. With the distance sensor, you could set it so that only adults triggered it above the end and kids didn't, so kids could get through.
Yeah, and you can set the distance sensor for different distances. So people who are above a certain height trigger it, but people below a certain height don't. Don't scare the toddlers, but definitely scare the 7th graders kind of thing. It's just silly. Actually keep that spider one available for us for Halloween. We did something similar where you walked through a door and a little tiny bat swung out. Or no, it was a ghost. A ghost with little blinking eyes like popped out like, oh, it's a ghost. Great Pete acting on that one as well. But very similar to this, distance sensor servo, but accomplishing a very simple task. And again, the Lego just makes an easy mounting situation. And even if you want to just tape down things. I just hate taping things to cardboard, especially things that are being reused in a classroom over and over again. Hopefully things that last a very, very long time in a classroom. But the Lego just makes it a very simple format that's easy to then take apart again when you're done. Because we do include Lego base plates in all of our kits, because why not? Lego. But yeah, anyway, so that's the project. And those are the kind of ideas we have with it and the cause and effect stuff that you can easily do for programming in a classroom that is humorous, entertaining, and also not very time consuming or budget consuming for you as an educator. Kickers this time of year, as we all dream of summer. So any questions out there in teacher land for us about how we put this together? Again, the code, the diagram, all that we have available in the write-up, so you can easily just copy paste this project basically and make this exactly as it is, even without the 3D printed parts. You could just tape them down if you wanted to. We just like, because it looks nicer and for the mechanics. Looks better in our photography too, much better in our photography. But any questions out there in teacher land? Jordan, I think that's, if you've been monitoring.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Right now, I currently do not see any. I think it was very interesting. It's something a little bit different than we've been doing in the tradition in the past. But I know that we have also some great links to some of the products that you're talking about too. So I'm gonna actually put some of that stuff in the chat box just in case people are interested in. And then I also wanted to say, while we're filling time here, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I know we kind of went through some of those projects. If you are interested in some of that, like I said, we do have some links to some of these projects that and some of the hardware that Josh was presenting. I also thank you, Peach, for making these great projects. Great job on that. I love the video. I wish the sound effects did come through. I thought that was a great engagement piece right there.
He's got a good laugh track in there. It really is like a 1950s sitcom kind of thing, like this hilarious canned laughter in the background. It's good stuff. Now, Jordan, I will say, when you first said, hey, do an April Fool's Day project for like 2 weeks from now, we were kicking around like ideas to use like your face in something. Like literally, like we're like, how could we have like Jordan like grab your picture off LinkedIn and have it up, like pop up somewhere, like, ah, it's Jordan popping up out of a Wisconsin map or something. But it just
that'd be scary.
well, we figured it'd be better for Halloween because of how
Oh,
scary
yeah.
it would be.
Yeah, for sure.
Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin actually used to be a fort back in the day. And when you drive into the city, there's like a little kind of like replica like facade of a fort when you come in.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking like actually having like printing out a picture of that and then having like you pop up from behind it, which would I think be very silly, but maybe save that for a different day, a different project. But
oh, that would be amazing if you could get that to go.
we'd actually send it to you at NASCO so you could wow all your coworkers when everyone's back in the office eventually. They come by your desk, you just pop out from behind the corner like, it's Jordan. It'd be a great use of desk space and wall space in your desk at NASCO and the huge buildings you have there. It's a very nice place. Good ice cream in Fort Atkinson. Ice cream places.
Yeah, we got some great local businesses. But yeah, what I was gonna say, if there is no questions that are coming through here,
Perfect.
I do have some things in the handout section. So Arduino guide, the microbit guide for the arm lever, and then I also have the distance sensor on there as well. I did add a Crazy Circuits link in there in case you're interested in the Arduino sense. We do have some microbit links too. We do have some starter kits, some Ventor kits along with that as well. So just in case you are interested in getting involved with the microbit itself, I mean that we got plenty of things and options for you to be able to utilize. If you haven't heard of the microbit before, it is a great microcontroller to be able to utilize in the classroom. It's becoming more and more popular. It started more overseas and it's gradually starting to get into the US as well. So
Just say, Jordan, it's popular everywhere else except here. US is the last place.
I didn't want to. I wanted to be lightly on that. I know. I get it.
Oh no, it's kind of funny. I mean, it takes a while for things to take on the U.S. education system because of how big and just diverse it is here in the U.S. So many school districts and whatnot. But it's a great platform, and I know we're gonna be doing some other lessons activities. We're putting out some curriculum as well, free curriculum. Whether or not you want to use our products, it's free. That in the future we'll be doing some little workshops on doing some basics with microbit if you want to try some of these little projects and whatnot, actually walk through the code process of that in the future. Again, if you want to work along with us on some of these projects, because it's nice. It's a great beginner board for really for educators who don't know the first thing about programming. It's nice, easy, like weighed in kind of projects and activities, and for especially for children as well, because it's very designed to be very, very kid friendly, and a lot more so with that drag and drop interface and some of the more traditional programming systems, kind of like the whole Scratch helped change Arduino's look and feel. Like this is just a lot easier. Even me, I'm a bad programmer, and the drag and drop interface feels almost too easy and to make projects. And that's the goal, is to make sure we get people inspired, thinking of their own projects, trying new things out on their own, being self-motivated in their learning. And so this really is a nice board for doing that, especially when you have wonderful accessories to expand the options, such as cool beans here. But being able to bring in servos and sensors is a nice way to have the kids interact with the environment around them and make fun interactive things quickly and easily. It can also be then taken apart and reused for the next class. So microbit, give it a try. They're fun, not just for kids.
Absolutely.
Anyway, good times.
All right.
Good times.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I did want to make a note. I did drop a link in the chat for the next webinar. It is April 28th. So we got a little bit of a gap between our next episode, but definitely join us for our next one. And I don't see any other questions. So thank you everybody for joining us today. If you do have any questions about this, or if you're seeing a recording of this, you can reach out to us at engage@nascoeducation.com. More than willing to send you some of the links and any other additional information as well. Thanks so much and enjoy the rest of your day.